It's the 19th of September 1940, and Witold Pilecki is standing on a Warsaw street corner watching SS trucks load prisoners. He's 39 years old, and he has a false identity card in his pocket with a clear path to slip away. Instead, he steps forward into the roundup. He believes those trucks are bound for a new German camp the world barely knows, a place near a town called Auschwitz. He is letting himself be taken on purpose, and he will spend 945 days inside. The only question is why a man would do that, and what he found that was worth it. Pilecki is not a random victim. He's a cavalry officer and a veteran of the Polish-Soviet War, a man who has spent his adult life fighting for a Poland that keeps disappearing off the map. During the German invasion in September 1939, he commands a cavalry platoon attached to the 19th Infantry Division. His unit is nearly destroyed at the Battle of Piotrków-Trybunalski. When the Soviet Union invades from the east 2 weeks later, the situation collapses entirely. The Polish High Command orders a retreat through Romania to France. Pilecki refuses. He stays in Warsaw with his commander, Major Jan Włodarkiewicz, and in November 1939, they found the secret Polish army. It's one of the first organized underground movements in occupied Poland. By the spring of 1940, the underground is losing people. Members of the secret Polish army are vanishing into a new German camp near the town of Auschwitz, and no intelligence is coming back out. No names, no reports. The resistance has no idea who's still alive. The camp is called Auschwitz. In 1940, the Polish resistance believes it's a prison or an internment camp for political prisoners. They don't yet know what it will become. Włodarkiewicz proposes a mission. Someone needs to get inside, find the missing men, and build a network that can report back. Włodarkiewicz frames it as a volunteer assignment, though Pilecki knows it's partly punishment for refusing to back Włodarkiewicz's increasingly extreme ideology. Pilecki agrees anyway. He sees it as a military operation, not a suicide mission. The objective is simple: get inside, build a way to smuggle word out, and find the missing men. On the 19th of September, Pilecki deliberately exposes himself during a street roundup in Warsaw. He carries the identity papers of Tomasz Serafiński, a fellow resistance member who has been mistakenly reported as dead. The roundup sweeps up around 2,000 people. He reaches Auschwitz on the night of the 21st of September in the second Warsaw transport, 1,705 men. The train journey takes 2 days. There's no food and little water. When the train stops at Auschwitz, the guards process the new arrivals with rifle butts and snarling dogs. Pilecki is registered as prisoner number 4859. The name they file is Tomasz Serafiński. The real Serafiński is still alive in Warsaw, and his borrowed identity is now buried inside the most notorious camp in history. But Pilecki didn't come here to survive under a false name. He came to build an army. By October 1940, Pilecki has founded the Union of Military Organization, or ZOO. It's a resistance cell structure built inside a concentration camp. The organization is compartmentalized into small units across different blocks and work details, and each cell knows only its immediate contacts. The rules are the same as any underground army: gather intelligence, maintain morale, prepare for a possible uprising, and above all, get information out to the Home Army headquarters in Warsaw. The first reports on conditions and the killings inside the camp reach Warsaw in late 1940. From March 1941, Pilecki's messages become more systematic and more detailed. The network grows. Eventually, ZOO includes hundreds of inmates across multiple blocks and commandos. They use hidden messages, trusted couriers, and coded communications to smuggle reports past the SS guards and the perimeter wire. Some reports travel inside loaves of bread. Others are carried by prisoners who are officially being transferred to other camps or released. The information that reaches the Allies is the first comprehensive intelligence on what Auschwitz actually is. The outside world now has evidence. What they choose to do with it is another story. Pilecki operates under constant pressure. Every new recruit is another potential leak. Every message that leaves the camp is a death sentence if it's intercepted. The SS and the capos are always watching. A single mistake means summary execution, not just for the carrier, but for the entire cell. In the autumn of 1941, a coded message reaches Pilecki from the outside. His superiors in Warsaw have promoted him to first lieutenant. The outside world still knows he's alive. But inside, the camp is changing. The killings accelerate. The gas chambers begin operation. Prisoners arrive by the trainload and disappear within hours. The mission is no longer about organizing an uprising. It's about bearing witness and getting that witness out alive. By early 1943, Pilecki senses the Gestapo is closing in. The net is tightening. He makes a decision. He'll escape not to save himself, but to deliver the full report in person. In the spring of 1943, Pilecki engineers a transfer to the Bakery Commando. The bakery sits outside the main camp, about 2 kilometers north, and the work detail is smaller and less guarded. 2 other prisoners transfer with him: Edward Ciesielski, prisoner 12969, and Jan Redzej, prisoner 5430, who is registered in the camp under his underground alias Jan Redko. Both men are already members of ZOW. All 3 know that if the plan fails, they won't be shot immediately. They'll be interrogated first. The escape plan is direct. They cut the telephone wires and the alarm wires, open the door with a bump key, remove the bolts, and barricade the exit from the outside so the guards cannot follow. The night of the 26th of April bleeds into the 27th. The prisoners work through 4 baking rounds. The guards are changed on Mondays, and this is a Monday, so the new shift is alert. Pilecki waits. By the early hours of Tuesday, the guards relax. One of them is asleep. The other is not paying close attention. Ciesielski fakes a back injury earlier in the shift to avoid suspicion. Redzej unscrews the nut on the door bolt. Pilecki presses his shoulder against the door. They pry it open and slip into the dark. Rain is falling. They block the door from the outside with wheelbarrows, logs, stones, and fence posts. Gunfire erupts behind them as the trapped guards raise the alarm, but the shots go wide. The 3 men run without speaking. They tear off their striped uniforms and throw their camp numbers into the Sola River. The fabric sinks into the black water. They cross the Vistula in a small boat they find by chance, rowing through the dark with their hands shaking from cold and adrenaline. They reach the forests to the east as dawn breaks. After a day of rest hidden in the trees, they march across the border into the general government zone. They reach Novi Vichnich near Bochnia and establish contact with the regional Home Army headquarters. Pilecki immediately proposes an armed attack on the SS garrison at Auschwitz to liberate the prisoners. The Home Army Command rejects the plan. They consider it unrealistic. The forces required would be too large, the coordination too difficult, the risk of mass slaughter too high. In August 1943, Pilecki travels to Warsaw and presents his full report at Home Army headquarters. He has been inside Auschwitz for 945 days. He has completed the mission. But surviving the Nazis turns out to be the easy part. Pilecki fights in the Warsaw Uprising of August 1944. He commands a company in the brutal house-to-house fighting that razes the city. He's captured by the Germans and spends the rest of the war in a prisoner of war camp. When the war ends, he doesn't stay in the West with the Free Polish forces in Italy. He returns to Poland in 1945 to report back to the London-based Polish government in exile. Before he travels, he compiles his full Auschwitz account, now known as Witold's report. He suspects he may not survive the journey. He writes anyway. Poland is now controlled by a Soviet-backed communist regime. The London government is the enemy. Loyalty to the government in exile is treated as espionage against the state. In 1947, the the secret police arrest Pilecki on charges of working for foreign imperialism and planning armed insurrection. They torture him. Then comes a show trial, where the verdict is decided before the first witness speaks. On the 25th of May 1948, Witold Pilecki is executed by shooting at Mokotów prison in Warsaw. He's 47 years old. His body is never returned to his family. His burial place remains unknown. His children, Zofia and Andrzej, grow up being told their father was a traitor to the state. They hear the news reports about his trial on the school radio. They don't learn the truth until the 1990s, once the communist system collapses and the archives are finally opened, revealing the records of his interrogation and trial. Pilecki's story, inconvenient to the regime that killed him, remains hidden for decades. The first major account comes from the historian Józef Garliński, himself a former Auschwitz inmate, in his 1975 book, Fighting Auschwitz. As communism fell, Poland reopened the case. He was formally acquitted in 1990. In 2006, he was posthumously awarded the Order of the White Eagle, Poland's highest honor. Pilecki survived 945 days inside the camp, escaped through a bakery door in the rain, and won his war. Then his own government put a bullet in the back of his head and hid his grave. He was erased for more than 40 years, until the country he died for finally said his name out loud. Because Pilecki's story isn't a tragedy of the Nazis, it's a tragedy of what came after. If you want more of the war's forgotten stories, subscribe.